It is not the season Oregon fans were hoping for as they get the Fiesta Bowl against Liberty. It's disappointing. It is not a failure. Here we go.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. So if you have not already, like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, please, and thank you wherever you listen to or watch this show, which today is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free, which is awesome. So post your job for free, good price, at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. So Oregon is in the Fiesta Bowl. Oregon's 11-2. Oregon's playing Liberty. Bo Nix is playing, and we'll end with some positivity to end the show because God knows we could all use that. But I was thinking about, how to contextualize this season, which is not over, of course. There is still one more game to be played on New Year's Day in Glendale. If you're thinking about going, I'd encourage you to go. You know why? Because there just aren't that many opportunities to watch Oregon play a football game. And there will be plenty of exciting things to watch in that particular game. Is it the game we wanted? No, it certainly is not. That loss from Friday night is going to sting, not just for the rest of the year, but until Oregon really gets over the hump, it'll be one of those what ifs. I think this team is really good, and they just didn't hit their ceiling. Not every football team does. It's a really difficult thing to do. And I think it's disappointing. I don't think it's a failure, because my standard I have adhered to since before the season started is if Oregon doesn't reach the Pac-12 Championship game, given that Bo Nix came back and the amount of talent they have and how everything was setting up schedule-wise, I would have said that's a failure of a result if Oregon hadn't reached the Pac-12 Championship game. Well, guess what? They did. And no, the game did not go the way that we were hoping as Oregon fans. In college football, it is even harder to win at a high level than you think. It is so impossibly difficult. And I'm not saying to not be frustrated, or I'm not saying to not be disappointed. I'm just adding context to what this all looks like. And I think there are far more positives than negatives if you take a step back and look at the big picture for the program right now. I think it is far more optimistic than pessimistic. Yes, Dan Lanning officially has got a Washington problem, and that's that he's 0-3 against Kalen DeBoer, and the Huskies are going with us to the Big Ten. Yep, that's something he's got to be able to do. And there have been a lot of comparisons to Dan Lanning currently and Ryan Day at Ohio State. So Ryan Day has also lost 3 consecutive games and missed national championship opportunities because of losses to Michigan. I think the difference is that this year they played a close game, but in the last couple of years, Michigan kind of bullied them. Michigan was just significantly better. Washington was a better team on Friday. Washington was a better team this year. But do I feel that Washington is pulling away from Oregon? Do I feel like Washington is in a galaxy that Oregon can't possibly get to? Absolutely not. And so it is disappointing to suffer a setback here of this variety, losing what was the biggest Oregon football game since the national championship in the 2014-15 season. That's what it was, because those sorts of implications were on the line. And losing that to Washington makes it sting even more. 100%. Not trying to tell you to feel differently. But I think as you look at the entirety of this season and everything that Oregon did accomplish, you know how many times Oregon has won 11 games in the regular season or more? I believe the number is 5. They hadn't done that since 2014. That is an accomplishment in it of itself. Playing for the Pac-12 championship game was a goal I think we all had for the Ducks before the season. They accomplished that goal. No, they didn't accomplish all of them. You know how many football teams hit their ceiling? Not very many. In college football, winning is so ridiculously hard, and it's why it's the greatest sport in the world, because winning a championship is harder in college football Even as we go into the 12-team playoff, this will continue to ring true, though it'll be slightly lessened, which is why I don't care for it as a college football fan. It would benefit Oregon this year, and I get that. But as a college football fan, I'm not in favor of a 12-team playoff. We don't need to have that discussion once again here on the show. Everydayers already know my thoughts on the matter. But when you look at what great coaches have done in this sport, it does not happen immediately. We all want it to, because Oregon's been trying for a long time. Kalen DeBoer as a coach is really good. I think we know that by now. He is an excellent football coach. He has been a head coach. This is his third stint. This is the second year for Dan Lanning. Kalen DeBoer has been at more locations than Dan Lanning has been has spent years as a head coach. That is not an excuse. That is a reality here. And the reality is that just to provide context to people who are saying like, oh man, Lanning's got to do this, or I'm frustrated about this, that, and the other thing. Do you think Dan Lanning is done getting better? I think this is what Kalen DeBoer is as a football coach, because he's done it for a very, very long time. He's always going to be good. I think that guy is an outstanding football coach. Situationally, preparation, motivation, whatever it is. He is clearly very, very good. Do you think that Dan Lanning is incapable of becoming a better football coach? Because I don't. Kalen DeBoer is a better football coach than Dan Lanning right now. He's beaten him 3 times, and it's come down to close games and situations and whatnot, and that's about coaching and preparation. And DeBoer has been better than Lanning. Do you think that's always going to be the case? Do you think that, however many years the Big Ten exists in, the structure that we'll have in 2024, you think that Lanning's going to go 0-15 and they're about to go on a run like Oregon went on when I was growing up? Because I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it stings and it sucks right now, 100%. But to say that everything feels bad or that the season would be a failure or anything like that, no, it's disappointing to not reach your full potential. But look at everything that Oregon has to feel good about. There's still a lot of really good things. And I'm trying to cling on to that sort of stuff. Because, Friday night sucked. It sucked losing that football game. It would have been awesome to win. It's terrible to lose. Not going to argue with you there. But, for Duck fans, we're moving into a space of, all right, what's next? And that's what it is as a sports fan. That's just what it is you make the most of every opportunity as best you can. You put yourself in a position to succeed. Oregon did that. That alone is a really difficult thing to do. Putting yourself in a position to succeed at the highest level. Oregon was in that spot. They took a swing. They came up short. That stinks. Now the key is getting back to that position and giving yourself another chance. And a couple of names that I enjoy throwing out. These are 2-time national champion football coaches. Dabo Swinney was hired at Clemson in 2009. He was a good football coach when he got hired. Clemson was a really good program. He did not win a national championship until 2016. It can take time. That was pre-portal, so you can argue the timeline should be quicker, whatever. Okay, have those debates all you want. Kirby Smart, guy who just lost for the first time in 2 years after winning back-to-back natties, hired at Georgia in 2016. By the way, his first year, he went 8-5. Not sure many people know that. Georgia's long been a really good program, but you need a lot of things to go right, and you have to set yourself up for success every single year, year after year after year, and hope the chips fall in your direction. Unfortunately, they didn't for the Ducks this year. But Kirby Smart hired 2016. First national championship, 2021. It can take a minute. And I believe in Dan Lanning. I believe in the program he's building. And this absolutely sucks. But is it all negative? No, I do not think so. And I don't think it was a failure of a season. I think it was just a disappointing end to what could have been a really, really special one. Because I do think this team has got a really high ceiling. You look at the veterans they've got on both sides of the ball, Bo Nix. I mean, a lot of things to like about this team. They just didn't play their best game on Friday. And Washington, to their credit, played a really, really good football game. So how should we feel going into a Fiesta Bowl matchup? Well, Bo Nix is playing. I got to tell you, I did not see that one coming, but I have thoughts on that and plenty more. I have thoughts about LinkedIn as well. and how great it is. Because when you're a small business and you're hiring, you want to have as many top tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn is a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals. That's billion with a B, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. It just is. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows what small businesses knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, might not have time or the resources to hire. They're there to help you out. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so it's the Verbo or PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. I think it's PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Verbo? I don't remember, honestly. It's the Fiesta Bowl. It is a stadium that, if memory serves, we haven't always had the best of luck in. However, Oregon has won the Fiesta Bowl before. Last time the Ducks were there was the COVID season against Iowa State. That game did not go well. Ducks were also there in the 2012 season against Kansas State. If there'd been a 14 playoff back then, Oregon would have been in the playoff. But those are the sorts of conversations you're going to have with a 12-team playoff going forward. Well, if they had a 12-team playoff. Yeah, if they had a 12-team playoff, Oregon would be in it. Would still have to get through a Washington or Texas or Bama or somebody. And it'd be very, very difficult. But I know a lot of people are excited about that prospect. I am not. But, hey, I am unique in that sense. Even though it objectively would help my team right here, right now, and the team that you clearly enjoy as well if you're listening to or watching this show, I'm still not in favor of it. I think the committee got it right, by the way. If you haven't seen my thoughts over on Locked On Pac-12, I think the committee got it right, leaving Florida State out. And not everybody agrees with that opinion. That's okay. I didn't need to see Florida State try and play for a national championship. You know why? They would have gotten dog walked by anybody, especially Michigan. Oh, my gosh. That would have been the same score as the Iowa game. It would have been the same exact score. Iowa's not playing for a national championship, nor should they. So anyway, the Fiesta Bowl, very prestigious bowl. There was a time, once upon a time, I would have been ecstatic as an Oregon fan to be playing in a big time bowl game like this. Because Oregon has played in so many over the years, and because they have shown that a national championship is within their reach, it no longer feels like a destination spot to be. And I understand Oregon fans who have the reaction of, well, it's not what we were looking for. No, it is not. It's still going to be an opportunity to watch the Ducks. I'm still going to watch the game. I hope a lot of young guys get to play. Here's something I didn't expect, though, especially after the press conference post Pac-12 Championship game. Bo Nix announced that he's going to play, and Dan Lanning communicated that in his Fiesta Bowl press conference, and he's been very upbeat about, our guys are excited to play. We're excited for the opportunity. There's obviously a level of disappointment in there, but it seems that Bo Nix is kind of trying to, and again, this is just based on, what was said at the press conference and what others have reported. It appears that Bo Nix is trying to get some other guys to play in the game as well. And you know what? I respect the hell out of Bo Nix for that. I mean, I already respected the guy. He was so awesome and so genuine in his press conference after the game. His appreciation for Oregon and, his journey as a college football player and everything was so great. And then afterwards, a lot of us media people were outside, and he walked outside and he shook everyone's hand and said, thank you, appreciate the coverage. Just super nice, down to earth guy. And for what it's worth, Michael Penix is the same way. Super nice dude, really appreciative and grateful of everything. And as we know, a heck of a football player. So I think that for Bo Nix to be playing in this game is demonstrative of how much of a competitor he is. Like, there is every reason to opt out of this game. And I love that he's opting in on the one hand, 100%, because I don't think he's doing it for stats. I think he's doing it because he wants to play another college football game. He wants to go out with a win, and he wants to suit up with his guys who he's, fought with over the last couple of years and battled and gave Oregon 2 really, really strong seasons that just didn't go exactly the way we were all hoping for, him included. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I either want Bo Nix to build up such a big lead that Ty Thompson plays, or low key, I might be kind of disappointed. Because when the matchup was announced, I was thinking, oh, I don't think Bo's playing for that. He's going to go get ready for the draft, and that's the way it is now, and we get it. But Bo Nix is apparently an old soul and an old school kind of guy. And I'll get to the Liberty matchup in just a sec. But my first thought when I saw the game was, well, Bo opts out. That's great for the Ducks because we could put Ty Thompson in and see what we've got in a full game against a hungry opponent that is certainly going to come out highly motivated. Oregon's about a 2-touchdown favorite at the Open, and we could see what we actually have with Ty Thompson. Do we want to go in the portal? Do we need to go in the portals? Cam Ward going to be out there, and that's certainly an interesting conversation to say the least. But then Bo comes back and says, "No, I'm playing. No, I'm going to play." Well, okay then. We get another opportunity to watch Bo Nix play, and I think we should all respect the heck out of that because that is not a common occurrence in today's college football. Non-national championship bowl games for guys who have an NFL future, it's not something you see very often. And though on the one hand, I am disappointed that Ty Thompson won't get the ability to start, I love Bo even more. Like, I really, really like that guy for many, many reasons. Now, this particular matchup with Liberty is really not the one that I was hoping for. Now, that again was in the context of thinking that Ty Thompson would be starting, because what I wanted to see was a matchup with a Missouri or an Ohio State, perhaps, right? Future Big Ten opponent. Ohio State, it feels wrong, doesn't it? That's because it is. But anyway, so when I saw the Liberty matchup, I thought, wow, just one final punch below the belt to the Pac-12 that the non-New Year's Six game that the conference gets is the lone G5. And it's not even, in my view, the best and most deserving G5. I thought it would have been SMU. The American is a dramatically better conference than Conference USA. And credit to Liberty for going 13-0. That's a hard thing to do. But SMU plays in an objectively better conference. Even after the restructuring where they lost Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, the American is much better than Conference USA. The American took some of the best teams from Conference USA and put them in the American Conference in a round of realignment. And SMU is going off to the ACC. I think it's a missed opportunity there by the Fiesta Bowl personally, but I understand the quote from Boo Corrigan. Oh, gosh. You guys ever see the movie The Martian? Okay, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So there's this scene where Vincent Kapoor, I forget the actor's name, but he's fantastic in the film. He's in Doctor Strange as well. And he goes and does a press conference in which, they're talking about Mark Watney on Mars, and they know he's alive. And he says to end the press conference, we would tell Mark to make sure he knows that we're doing everything in our power to bring him home alive. Thank you. And then he walks into another room, and his boss, who's portrayed by Jeff Daniels, another fantastic actor, he says, "Don't say alive, Vincent. It's not something you say in the press conference." And then Kristen Wiig's character, as he said the word alive at the press conference, she's the PR person. Her eyes got really wide. Somebody somewhere at the College Football Playoff Committee has to be Kristen Wiig, and someone has to be Jeff Daniels here, because holy smokes, this guy, Boo Corrigan, the chair of the CFP committee, after they correctly, in my view, just to be clear, they leave out Florida State. And there are plenty of reasons and justifications as to why. And then when asked about putting in Liberty over SMU, he says into a microphone on television, he goes, "Well, with Liberty, they just continued to win." Dude, what are you doing? It's so, it's beyond parody. It's beyond parody that guy is in that position and he made that statement. And somebody had to have been doing the Kristen Wiig, just eyes wide open, like, oh gosh, why did you say that? And someone, as he walked off camera, had to tell him, why would you say that? There's nothing good to say there. But yes, I would have preferred a Power 5 matchup for the Ducks. I don't hate the prospect of ending the year 12-2 and landing going from 10 wins to 12 wins and say, you know what, 10, 12, next year's 14. Sounds good to me. So anyway, I found that whole disaster of a spectacle to be rather amusing. But I would have liked to have seen a Power 5 matchup just because it'd be, a bigger, more exciting game. But again, if you're thinking about going, I encourage you to go. You know why? Because at the end of the season, there will have been 14 days in which you could go in person or watch on TV an Oregon football game. And no, it's not the game that we were looking for, but you just don't get to see it very often. And those guys are going to practice hard and they're going to get ready. And there will be a lot of things to watch for in that game, as we'll talk about in the lead up to it. Oregon's playing in that game for one reason that I did not particularly expect. I do expect you to enjoy FanDuel, though, because as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. And FanDuel likes Oregon against Liberty, though, as we saw, FanDuel liked Oregon against Washington, too. Didn't go the way we were hoping for. Still, though, right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins, whether that's Oregon or anybody else. And that's all it takes. You put down 5 on the money line. It could be minus 5,000 for all I care. And you get 150 in bonus bets, just like that. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. You can get college football gambling lines and much more over there as well. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. That was a little third segment sip. Got to do what you got to do. So, it sucks talking about that Washington game. It's why I haven't done it a ton today. If you want to, ask questions about it or anything, by all means, YouTube comments, Twitter, great ways to get in there. You can also become a Locked On Ducks insider over at SUBTEXT. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDucks. Link in the description below wherever you listen to or watch this show. All sorts of perks over there. You stay up to date with breaking news, and I send it right to your phone. That's where you get it delivered. You can talk with me one-on-one, priority mailbag access, all sorts of perks, free 14-day trial. Then it's just $5 a month. Appreciate everybody that has subscribed over there. So that Washington game, a lot of painful elements to it. A lot of would have, could have, should have, this, that, and the other thing. I think the most surprising element to me was that Oregon lost the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, frankly. Now, I did not care for Oregon's lack of a concerted effort to establish the running game in the first half. I felt that on Oregon's second drive, on the first play from scrimmage, it's an RPO, and Bo Nix should have handled the ball off to Bucky Irving. There was a little bit of a lane, and it would have gotten positive yardage. And I think that could have changed that first drive, at least to move the sticks once or twice. On the second drive, 3rd down and 1, close to midfield, I think it was the 40-ish yard line, and Will Stein dials up the sprint out. Did not like it. The sprint outs didn't go well against Washington, and yet we kept trying them against the Huskies. And it barely worked with T-Ferg saving the day on that one. But again, Washington clearly has our number on those plays. I don't know why they kept going back to them, but I thought on 3rd and 1, you got to run the football. And Lanning said in his post-game press conference as well, he felt like there were a couple opportunities to run the football where they didn't. And I have to imagine, second possession, 3rd and 1, trying to avoid your second straight 3 and out, handing the ball off would have been the right move. And no, Bucky Irving did not have his best game. I asked Lanning about that post-game, and he essentially gave a non-answer that, Jordan James, Bucky Irving, they're both talented guys. You want to get them the football. I think we all saw that Jordan James should have gotten the ball more, and it didn't become apparent until, probably around the second quarter, but Washington just had Bucky Irving's number. I have not heard anything to the effect of him being injured. Maybe he was. I don't know, but I've watched him break a lot of tackles against Washington in the previous 2 meetings. I don't know that he broke a single one of significance in that game on Friday night. So I felt that should have been a Jordan James, short yardage, ground and pound. And I think if that happens, the defense at the very least gets to stay on the sideline more. Like, that was the biggest sin of the offense in the first half, was starting with back-to-back 3-and-outs and just putting the defense on the field after Oregon deferred. And I'm a fan of deferring, by the way. I'm a huge fan. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think that, makes a difference one way or the other. You got to be able to execute on both sides. But Oregon defers, and then when the offense comes out, it was not there. It felt a little vanilla at times. It was just, hey, let's just go slant. Hey, let's just call an RPO and whatnot. And Washington played really, really well defensively. They covered exceptionally well. But back to my original point, Oregon got dominated on the line of scrimmage, and I just did not see that coming. And I don't have an explanation for it. Jordan Birch going out has an impact. It shouldn't have that much of an impact. I mean, Dylan Johnson ran everywhere. Oregon didn't tackle as well as they usually have. The running lanes were there. I mean, that's the most balance I've seen from Washington's offense all season long. And it comes in that particular moment. I just was really, really surprised that that's the way it went. And you got to credit their offensive line for playing really well. But, straight up, Oregon lost to the point of attack. And it turns out the line of scrimmage matters a great deal. And I think Lanning's well aware of that with the way that, he and his staff recruit and the priorities that they place on, guys like Jordan Seaton, 5-star offensive tackle who hasn't decided yet, and all the defensive linemen they brought in, and Breland and rushing and everything like that. That defensive line had played well all year, and that offensive line had played well all year. And they just didn't. And you know what? I'd love to give you some explanation or an answer, but sometimes units or players just have an off day. Sometimes Steph Curry goes out and he can't make a 3 to save his life in a big game. I've seen it happen all the time. It's sports. And for whatever reason, Washington won that matchup. And that is the last way that I expected to lose a football game. And it's a disappointing element. So you build back up, try to give yourself another shot to make the 12-team playoff next year. So all that was fairly negative because Friday night was mostly negative. Let's end with some positivity here. I know not as many of you are basketball fans like I am, college basketball fans. And I know that football is the most popular sport. That's why I talk about it almost every day on the show all year round. And that'll continue to be the case. Fear not. Do you know the name Jackson Shelstad? Gosh almighty, I hope so. If you don't, allow me to explain. Shelstad was a highly rated 4-star. I think some services had him as a 5-star point guard coming out of, drumroll please, Westland High School. It was a terrible drum roll, but you know what? I did it anyway. The last point guard to come out of Westland High School ended up having a pretty good career with the Ducks. I am not joking when I say that this kid could have an even better career. Now, there's a high standard there, to be sure. Here's where I'm coming from. Peyton Pritchard, as a true freshman, was a role player who basically sat in the corner and shot a couple threes and grew into an All-American point guard or All-American caliber point guard. I don't remember if he got that selection or not by the time his career came to a close with the Ducks. Shelstad is that dude right now. I mean, his first game at Matthew Knight Arena, his first game, he starts. He has 14 points. He goes 2 of 3 from distance. He has some crazy awesome finishes with the left hand going to the basket. He's beating guys off the dribble with regularity. His explosiveness and dynamic playmaking ability and his passing and his vision is all tremendous. He is a 3-level scorer. He's got a huge array of offensive moves. And oh, by the way, he's apparently got the clutch factor. So after Friday night's debacle, I was looking for anything to feel good about. And Jackson Shelstad gave me that, and many Oregon fans that, on Saturday afternoon. And a game that, when you're looking at Oregon's early season resume here, you'd really like to have as they try to get back to the NCAA tournament. They're giving away some late leads against Michigan, both in regulation and overtime. And then they're coming down, tie game, 83 apiece in overtime, and Shelstad from almost the same angle where Peyton Pritchard hit a dagger three with about a second to go against Washington back in the 2019-20 season up in Seattle. He lets it fly from 28 feet. The play was drawn up for him because that's the amount of trust that Dana Altman's got in the true freshman stud muffin, Jackson Shelstad. And he hit all nylon on that thing. And I'm really impressed with this kid. I mean, really impressed. And by the way, Nate Biddle and N'Faly Dante are hurt. That sucks for Oregon right now. Eventually, those guys, in theory, should be able to come back. It's not for a while, like until calendar year 2024. But if Oregon can hold off until conference play and get at least one of those guys back, this team, unlike last year's team, has got a lot of shooting. Shelstad can shoot. Kuznard's hitting shots. Bartholomew shoots. Brennan Rigsby looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. Aquendo's not much of a shooter, but that's okay. Jadrian Tracy is. Shelstad is the playmaking, beat you off the dribble, attack, drive and kick, score, hit a big shot, finish at the rim sort of guard, and true number one that I think Oregon was missing last year. And that's been my critique of this Oregon basketball team for the last couple seasons, is it never felt like they had a number one. And Will Richardson looked like he'd be that guy for a while. He's a number two. That's just what he was. Shelstad can be a one. And the fact that he's from West Linn, I think makes him endearing for fans and easy to root for. And I tell you, just go watch. He had 14 points, only had one assist, but it was on a no-look pass, beating his guy off the dribble for a go-ahead dunk in overtime, by the way. He's got the whole arsenal. I mean, that guy, and by the way, KJ Evans, the 5-star, nice-looking true freshman at the power forward spot. Mookie Cook hasn't even played yet. 5-star freshman. I would love to see the Ducks get into the tournament, but there's a long way to go. That's a quality win. Oregon's got 2 Power 5 non-conference wins against Georgia and now against Michigan. And I don't know if those are powers in a Power 5 league in the SEC and the Big Ten. We're certainly hoping so, but that Jackson Shelstad kid, I remember I had a tweet. I'll end with this. I had a tweet a while back when Oregon men's basketball, right before the season, tweeted out like a promo video, and Shelstad was the first guy featured in it. And I remember seeing that going, I don't think that's an accident. And guess what? I don't think it was an accident at all. I think they know what we saw on Saturday. This dude, that guy could become an Oregon legend here pretty quick. It's early, but what a start. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, no matter what, go Ducks.